introduce themselves in the chat. So in the chat, if you can just let me know who you are, where you're from, and what you do. I'll go first, but obviously vocally. I'm Morgan. I live in Dallas, Texas, and I own a marketing agency. So let me know in the chat where you're from and what you do while we give just a few more minutes for people to stroll in. Awesome. Lisa from Georgia, writer and filmmaker. Okay, that's super cool, Lisa. My husband's actually a videographer, and he just did a short film, helped film a short film probably about half a year ago, and he loved it. That was a new experience for him. Carrie from North Carolina, Vistage Chair just sold my agent. Congrats, Eric. Hopefully congrats. Sometimes it's what agencies want. Jackie, New York, but I live in PA. Awesome. Nice to meet you, Jackie. Lorraine, hopefully I am not butchering that. If I am, I apologize. We're in Tennessee as a realtor broker. Brett from Hartford, nice to meet you both. Oh, accountant, Jackie, that's awesome. I'm not great with numbers, so good afternoon. Crawley, Oakland, consulting company providing services to artists, DJs, and businesses. Awesome. Nice to meet you. Catherine is from California. Nice to meet you, Kathy. Got people all over. Oh, a lot of morning still for those who are in Pacific. I was in marketing for RSMES for 12 years. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. A few more people. I'll give it about 2 more minutes. For those of you who are just now joining, we're just doing some introductions in the chat. So tell us who you are, where you're from, and what you do. Kelly, Chi-Town. Where is Chi-Town? I've never heard of that. I feel like maybe I should. Tax credit, business development. Awesome. Oh, Chi-Town. Oh, Chicago. Okay. All of you are getting to know a fun fact about me, and that is I am not very geographically smart at all. I should be, but I am not. Awesome. A few more people joining. Hello, hello. For those who are joining, do another intro when that other person joins. Awesome. Great. Awesome, Kelly. Nice to meet you. Okay, for those of you who are just now joining, yeah, okay, you're connected. Great. For those who are just now joining in the chat, we're just introducing ourselves. Give about 1 more minute, we'll get started. Tell us who you are, where you're from, and what you do. I'll say mine again. I'm Morgan. Live in Dallas, Texas, and I own a marketing agency. And we have a lot of people who introduce themselves in the chat and all over. Looks like we're all in different time zones. Awesome. Okay, well, we're about to get started. And I'm going to go ahead. Okay, great. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can jump right in. So you all can see my screen. Let me know if you cannot. You should see effective campaign management. And I'm also going to grab the chat. And I will try and pay attention to the chat, but there will be a Q&A at the end. So if you have questions, we will certainly get to them. Okay, great. So for today, we are going to be talking about effective campaign management. So essentially how to create audience segmentations to help maximize your growth. So just being really intentional with how we develop a target audience and then how we use that. But before we get started, I'm going to do a quick intro because I know a lot of you are new to these webinars. So I've been in marketing and social media now for a little over 5 years. I'm working at places like Sprout Social, Go High Level, etc. So lots of experience in the marketing and social world. With that, I've worked with over hundreds of businesses and entrepreneurs, providing strategic services to help grow businesses. And what this really means is I always like to give a little bit more of an explanation on what I mean by that. I believe we take a very holistic approach at Sage. I believe that every arm of the business affects each other, and what we do for marketing affects other arms and departments, and vice versa. So I always like to say, if I can give you 50 leads, but you don't have a really great customer journey, those 50 leads are going to render you useless. Or I can get you 50 leads and they may not be great. So then we go back and we figure out, okay, why did these people come into that funnel? What are they looking for? What can we make better? So essentially it's a constant pivot, but it's looking really at the entire business and how it operates. So that's what I do and specialize in. And then I've worked with Progreda for a little over a year now. So for those of you who are using Progreda, I have been working with Andy for a while. So that's a little bit about me professionally. Outside of my professional wheelhouse, I have a 2-year-old son who keeps me on my toes. Me and my husband spend all of our time with him, and we like to do a lot of outdoor activities. So perfect place in Dallas, maybe not in the summer because it's very hot for those of you who are familiar with Dallas's heat. So let's get started. And we're going to start talking about how to understand audience segmentation. And by first understanding, we need to know what is audience segmentation. So audience segmentation is just a process of dividing that target audience into smaller, more defined categories. So what it's going to do, it's going to help you better understand your customer. It's going to help you tailor your marketing efforts to meet their specific needs. And so there are several key benefits to audience segmentation, which we'll get to next. So now we're going to dive into key benefits. So with that, first one is personalized marketing. So this is going to allow you to create more relevant personalized messaging. So this on the right-hand side of the screen, probably left for you, is a newsletter that we did for an HVAC company. So if all of you are familiar with Las Vegas, they've had a record heat wave the last 2 weeks. And so we took that and used that to our advantage. So we know our target audience are homeowners, those who have AC units, and then we also know that there's a big heat wave right now. So with that, we're taking all of that into consideration. And it allowed us to craft some emails out. So our title is, I'm reaching out for urgent assistance as I'm experiencing hot air inside my house with temperatures over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Because our long-term goal is to get AC replacements. So we took that as our title. We know there's a heat wave. We have a demographic. We know who we're looking for. And we were able to send out emails to all of the leads that we've captured, but then all of our past and current customers, hitting those who have had problems with their AC in the past. Or we took our target audience who we know who have had AC units for 5, 10, 20 plus years, because we know that their AC unit is probably not working at the way that it should be, because it's probably time for a replacement. So that's an example of personalized marketing where you can take the advantage of segmenting out audiences to tailor a custom message to them. The next one is improved engagement. So targeted campaigns tend to have higher engagement and conversion rates. And the reason being is because audiences that you're sending to already have interests and needs that align with your offer or service. Thus, it's going to provide higher engagement rates as well as more conversions and even customer acquisitions. So, for example, if I'm a person who is really trying to improve my health and my fitness journey, and I am starting to work out more and trying to eat better, and I know that, you've either captured me in the past, you're a fitness trainer, a health company, or maybe you capture me in a relevant ad. What you're sending to me is already interesting to me because I am currently interested in fitness and health. But if you had my name on your list and I have never opted in, I've never been on a health and fitness journey, that's not going to be interesting to me. I'm not even going to read or give you the time of day. But if I am, I'm going to start looking at that. I'm going to go on social media. I'm going to probably fall into some ads, just your typical customer journey. So when you have a target audience and you know who you're sending things to and they have those interests and needs already, you're way more likely to have those engagement rates, conversions, and customer acquisitions. The next benefit is efficient use of resources. So you can allocate your marketing budget more effectively by focusing on more promising segments. I've worked with tons of businesses before who, they're always like, budget is tight, or, I don't want to be spending all this money and not getting the right leads. So any money you put into lead conversion, whether social media, marketing, digital advertising, will be useless if you don't have the right audience. A lot of that too, and I'll preface by saying just from my experience, if you're sort of on the new side of the business, so solo entrepreneurs, maybe even small businesses that have kind of had an ever-evolving audience, a lot of these efforts using efficient resources, it's going to be an investment because you're going to need to get data. And how do we get data? We have to pay for ads. We have to pay to do social media if we're not going to do it on our own. And then we have to analyze the reporting on those functionalities. So this is going to help us understand who's clicking on our ad, who's entering on our ad, who's following us on social. Not only that, once they do click or they do interact or they do engage, do they ever buy? Do they opt into a funnel? Do they download something? What actions do they typically take? And then from there, we're able to customize and segment out using that data. So I will say for those of you who have never invested in this and aren't sure what their and who their target audience is, and or you feel like you do know but you don't think that that's who's buying from you, the best advice that I can give you is invest to do some data collection, which would involve social and digital marketing efforts to really understand who is engaging with you. And that is also going to be an efficient use of your resource. You're going to be allocating your marketing budget to data that is going to render useful to your overall agenda, which is obviously growing, getting leads, acquiring customers, or keeping customers. Let's talk about types of audience segmentation. So we have demographic segmentation. So this involves dividing your audience based on demographic factors. That's going to be age, gender, income, education, occupation. So you don't need precise answers for all of these factors, but you should always at least know 3 of them. For example, a luxury real estate agent is going to target usually high income individuals, probably aged between 35 and 50. And I would probably put an occupation as VP or higher, a founder, entrepreneur, those type of occupations. Because if I'm looking at a $2.3 million home, I'm either a business owner or I'm very high up in a corporation and I'm probably a little bit older and I have a high income. So knowing those demographic segmentations is going to help you understand, okay, what age should they be in? Does gender matter to me? Gender is going to matter if your service or offer is obviously intended for a specific gender. So example is I work with a telehealth company for menopause for women. So obviously our gender does matter. We target females. Our age does matter. We target women in that menopausal stage in their life. Income doesn't matter to us. Education doesn't matter to us, even occupation. Our main focus is our age and gender. So you don't always have to have every single one, but if you can at least get 3, you have a way better chance of increasing that conversion or that lead capture. But then once you get that lead, you have a higher chance of converting them. Second one is geographic segmentation. So this is targeting people based on their location. So this could be country, region, even city. You can even exclude locations. So you may want a specific location, but you also may not want people within a specific area or zip code. So areas wouldn't be relevant to your target audience. So another example, a local restaurant, if they're going to be focusing on marketing to get new leads, they're going to want to focus on people in their immediate vicinity, probably no more than 10, 25 miles. Just the same as a luxury real estate agent. they're not going to want to advertise to cities that have lower income ratio. So that would not fit their target audience. So they're probably going to look in different cities and areas surrounding where that home is placed in order to ensure that their ad or their marketing efforts get in front of people who live in high income areas versus those in lower income areas. That's a different example of how someone would want to use inclusion versus exclusion on a geographic segmentation. If geographic doesn't matter to you, you can totally skip this. I know there's a lot of us out there that have digital companies. We work with people all over. That's totally fine. I will say though, one thing I'll say about geographic, if you are a business who's mainly digital, you work with anyone and everybody, but you're still sort of on that new side where you're trying to get your footing, you're trying to get leads. What I have seen work really well is just start within your local area of where you live, and start targeting small businesses or people that that target audience of yours, and just start local and have a local presence, whether it's joining the Chamber of Commerce in your area, going to local farmers market if applicable, going to networking events. That actually really helps get a good, strong reputation and foundation first. And then you have reviews, you have reputation, you have a portfolio that you can start to build on within your own community. And then you can, it'll help you as you start to talk to other people outside of your community. Don't have to do that, but I've seen that work really well. And even myself, I do that as well. Okay, let's talk about psychographic segmentation. So these are specific interests of the target audience. So that would be lifestyle, values, and attitudes of individuals. And so you don't want to just drill down into demographics and location and then not any interest. This will only capture a broad audience. That's going to decrease your conversion rate significantly. And it's also not going to be an efficient use of resources when it comes to budget. So another example, fitness brand, they're going to want to target health conscious individuals, people who are on an active lifestyle or trying to get into an active lifestyle. So if I have the demographics and I know who my age, gender, who I'm trying to target, and I know my geographic area, if I'm not doing digital online, I'm in my area, it's going to show to every single person that fits within that bucket. But it's not going to just be focused to fitness and health. And so we want to make sure that if we're in a fitness and health business, we not only want those demographics and those locations, we really want to focus on the interests of the individuals. And so you don't want to just have someone scroll right past you that's not interested in fitness and health, because that's going to waste your money and you're not going to get good leads. Or you don't want someone to think that they know what they want and put in their information, and then you spend hours, which again is not an efficient time of our resources or budget, trying to close them when they're just not a great fit for what you're offering. So this one is probably the most important one, is getting down, okay, what lifestyle, values, and attitudes of an individual match my service or my offering, and establish that first before you go into demographics and location. Demographics and locations are easy, but really thinking about those lifestyle, value, and attitudes and interest are really going to help you as you think about what you want to use. And this is also not only benefiting you from the digital advertising side when you do pick out those interests, but even think about social media. I think it's a really great framework on some of the copies or conversations that you should be having to capture new audiences who may be interested in your service, because we know all algorithms are basically based off what we post. And so if I'm an individual looking for fitness and health, I'm probably going to start searching on social fitness and health videos, or nutrition videos, or I'm going to start looking at influencers within that world. And so the algorithm is already going to start picking up on that's what I'm interested in, and that's the kind of content I'm consuming. And so that's going to be really helpful for you as you start to think about, okay, how do I get popular on social media? How do I increase that following? How do I get leads from social media? Because the hardest thing to do is to get leads organically through social. And that's a good framework that you can start with also. So that way you can craft copy that's emotional, and when someone reads it, they're going to want to, DM or reach out or follow or whatever the case may be. Okay, and then behavioral segmentation. So this focuses on how the customers behave. So purchasing behavior, brand loyalty, and user status. So this is going to be helpful more in like the middle or long-term funnel of a customer's journey with you. So this can be used if you already have a buying audience who fits the last three that we just went over. So who fits our location, demographic, and interest. And so another example, think about it as if I was like an online retailer, I might create like a special campaign for repeat customers who have shown loyalty to the brand. So maybe I'm coming out with a new VIP thing. Maybe I'm dropping a new product and I want to get it put in front of the people who have bought from me another product that is similar. So this is really great once you have segmentation identified. And once you have buyers and contact lists who have bought from you, past customers, this is a really great option to use to, again, more in that middle of a long-term funnel. I guess you technically could do the beginning, but it wouldn't be, in my opinion, a best resource or budget. You would want to focus this to get more repeat customers. Okay, so once we have all of this identified, now we're going to create buyer personas. So buyer personas, what is a buyer persona? So a buyer persona is somewhat fictional. It's an ideal customer based on your market research and data about from your existing customers as well. So all in all, it's going to help you understand your audience needs, behaviors, and concerns. So I actually use buyer personas for both digital advertising and social media strategy. The reason why I do it for both is it helps my team really understand who we are trying to target. So that way we can remain on track when we play out and plan out an effective digital campaign. So we really lean heavily on this, and we're about to kind of break it down onto some different buyer personas. So here are some steps to create buyer personas. So we're going to start with research. So we're going to collect data. This could be through surveys, interviews, or just different industry stats that you find. We're going to identify patterns. So we're going to look for common characteristics and behaviors. This can be from the leads that you are capturing through advertising. This could be social media, looking at how many people are following you, where are they located, and what's kind of their age, gender, etc. And then what are they doing? Are they liking? Are they sharing, saving, commenting on your posts? What is their behavior when they are behaving that way, especially if they're commenting? What types of things are they commenting on? Or if they're liking, what type of things are they liking? Are they liking more of a certain product or offer? Are they liking more you being authentic, maybe taking them down, a day in the life or kind of the background of your business? So look for patterns. This is going to help you later when we break down what to do with this. And then build. So we're going to give them names, backgrounds, preferences to make them more relatable. So you're basically, once you have the buyer persona, I'll give you an example in a second, you're going to tailor your marketing message and your offers to meet those specific needs. So if one of your personas values an eco-friendly product, for example, you're going to want to highlight sustainability of your products in your campaigns. So this is why you'll want to say, okay, if I'm, I'll take fitness again, because I keep saying that. So if I'm a fitness health coach and I already have my segmentation, my audience from the research and pattern and build, I know that I'm looking for and focusing on females, specifically postpartum, who are trying to gain control on motherhood. And so maybe I'm going to build out Stacy, who is a full-time worker. She has one kid and she really is trying to get her health back on track. She wants to really have enough time for her child, but also take care of herself. As she's pouring so much energy into her kids, she wants to also give energy back to herself. She's feeling down, groggy all the time, weight gain, just not eating right. So what I'm going to focus on is mental and physical wellness as well as nutrition, because I know physically the mom is feeling run down. She's trying to keep everything together and she's trying to invest in herself. Mentally, that's going to affect her mentally. I know that mentally she's going to want some motivation. She's going to want to know that it's okay to feel the way that she's feeling. She's going to want to know that it is possible to invest in herself and it's not selfish to invest in herself. And then lastly, nutrition. We all know what we put in our body is going to affect what we think and feel on a daily basis. So we're going to want to hit her more on that nutrition side, give her some tips and trips, whether it's through social, digital advertising, consultation, whatever the case may be. So that's kind of what like your persona is going to start to be. So that way I'm going to craft those messages based on the personas that I've given her, and that I know those emotional things I'm going to hit on that's going to really make her want to buy something or have that FOMO of like, okay, now's the time to get the help and to move forward and that fitness journey that I'm on. So that's an example of like how you can start to think about a buyer persona and build basically like a fictional character. And it's going to help you craft copy for social media, what you want to talk about. It's going to help you craft an ad. And it's really going to help you stay emotional in a sense. So that way we all know that we all buy on emotion. So it's going to just justify that emotion. Okay, data collection and analysis. So methods of data collection. So there are several ways to collect data for audience segmentation. So we have surveys or forms. So you can directly ask your customers about their preferences and behavior. So people who have bought from you. Gamification can actually really help here. There have been plenty of times I've gotten an email where if you send us this survey, you'll enter in a raffle for a $100 Amazon gift card. People will totally do that because who doesn't want a $100 Amazon gift card? And so if you really, really need the data, you're somewhat new, you're at a stall in your business, this is going to help. And I would encourage gamification. You can also do survey and forms at the beginning of a lead capture. So I have done this to collect more data as I have an example. I have an apparel line that focuses on men's mental health. And they have a private community hub. So their primary focus is to get men vulnerable enough to enter into this community where there's professional resources and support. And then on the back end, you buy the apparel, just one in support and two, if you like the brand or the way that the apparel looks. But we kind of hit a stall point where we thought we had our buyer persona who we wanted to target, where they're at in their life. And all of our copy and messaging was to that. And we noticed we got a ton of engagement and we really got some good conversations, but our conversions were not doing very well. So we decided that we were going to collect more data and on the front end. So we were like, well, maybe they're just at a point in their life where they don't feel worthy enough to invest in themselves to get help, or maybe they're in a financial burden. We know, if everyone can agree, the economy is not the best right now. So maybe they truly just can't afford the help, or they're fearful that they can't afford it in the future and they just don't want to bother with it. Or maybe we have the wrong audience. So we decided to implement a multi-step form that basically asks a series of questions. So are you male or female? Because we're focused on men's mental health. We asked, are you currently facing a mental health challenge or just mental health in general? We asked, are you seeking resources or have you found resources for mental health? We asked, are you not facing mental challenges, but you want support, just daily support? Or do you want to be a supporter to other men? And lastly, are you at a point in your journey where you would want to spend X amount in this community or on this apparel? And what that started to tell us is a lot, actually. So we were actually able to get a ton of data, a ton of leads came through and answered those forms for us. And we started to realize we had kind of had three main buckets. We had one bucket who they were experiencing challenges, but were having a hard time finding resources. So we crafted our email messaging and our social messages to really hit and send resources, start sharing videos, start connecting on a more vulnerable on the more vulnerable side from the get-go versus kind of waiting until we got them a little bit longer in that funnel. And so that started to help when we had people answer in that way. We started to send them resources, different things that they can start to introduce into their life, and then kind of sneak some peeks of like what to expect in the community hub. We had some people who are like, no, I'm not currently, but I would love to support others. And so then we directed our message to that. Okay, here's some professional resources that we have. If you're professional and you want to start getting involved, let's have a conversation. Lastly, here's some examples of other ways men in the community have helped other people. And if you feel like this is something you want to take on, want to be a part of, let's get started. And then lastly, it was like, no, I cannot afford this, or I do not want to pay for this. And then we sent another survey. What's causing you not to want to pay for this? And we asked a series of questions there. And then people were filling it out. So we started to get a ton of data, and it helped us recraft what we were trying to do. It helped us better pin down our audience segmentation, buyer persona, and really just help us craft the right messaging to the right people, hit them where they're at currently within their life. So that is an example of data collection that you can actually do on the front end versus from previous buyers or customers of yours. That has actually worked really well for me. Feedback. So use reviews and feedback forms to gather insights. So this is going to be you trying to get people to add reviews or connecting personally one-on-one after maybe a service is completed to get their feedback live. Also look at your competitors. I don't think enough people do this. I like to go and look at competitors of my clients, and I like to see what kind of comments are they getting across their social channels, because now more than ever, individuals go to social for customer care. So the social media care, social care is becoming a thing. So I always like to see if they have a ton of negative comments or things that they're not happy with from their competitors. That's going to help me help my client at the end of the day. Okay, let's make sure not to do this, or let's make sure to keep this in mind if we do X, Y, and Z. So look at your competitors, see what their reviews are, see what people are talking about with your competitors. It's just going to help you make sure that you don't make the same mistake, or it's also going to help you with messaging. So if you know all of your competitors really struggle in one main area, but you don't, craft that in an ad, craft that in social media, and you'd be surprised how many people you'll get from your competitors just by paying attention to the negative reviews and feedback that your competitors are getting. Lastly is just analytic tools. So utilize tools like Google Analytics, track website behavior and demographic information. I use Google Data Studio too for pretty much everything. So this is where you're going to be able to kind of start diving into the journey when they're on the website, the journey when they're on social, journey when they come through an ad, and their behaviors. Again, going to help you create a much longer term strategy with higher conversion. All in all, this is going to help you maintain or help you pivot with your strategy if your audience starts to shift, or maybe their preferences start to shift. And this is going to allow you to remain relevant and redo your offering or the way that you talk to your audience in general. Okay, now we're going to talk about implementing segmentation in campaigns. So segmented campaign strategy. So with your audience, segments defined, you can create targeted campaigns for each group. So if you're a marketing fitness product, you're going to create one campaign targeting young professionals who want to stay fit, but you can do another one for seniors looking to maintain your health. So depending on, again, those audience segmentations that we talked about earlier, if you do have a wide variety of customers that range, their age range is very wide, you'll want to segment out those conversations and those strategies. Another example with the men's mental health brand, we had to do that too, because younger generations like Gen Z, young millennials, they're on board when it comes to mental health for men. They want to speak up, they want to get the help, but they also want to support other people or other men in their life. Whereas more of that boomer side, older millennials, they've been kind of taught, kick the dirt off your boots, don't cry about things, you'll be fine, don't talk about your feelings. So they're very closed off. There's a hard wall. We have to have a lot of more conversations. They're a lot harder to convert. But our messaging to those groups are vastly different. So this is really going to help you if you have different age ranges, or if you're a business that wants to start expanding your audience. So, hey, right now I have a really strong presence within a certain gender or any gender, but the age range is between 30 and 45. I really want to try and get a little bit younger. This is where you're going to want to target that message just a little bit differently to start to add in that younger or older audience that you're trying to expand your business into. All right, but we can use some techniques. So we can use personalization. So using techniques to content, oh my gosh, using techniques for dynamic content to tailor your messages. So this is another example. You can use email marketing in Progreda or any email marketing tool or software that you're using. Just basically do email marketing campaigns. That's going to address the person by their name, and it's going to offer products based on their previous purchases. So everybody wants personalization and authenticity, especially the younger generations. They don't want you just to send a generic email. They want to feel like you're actually thinking about them, you value them, and you value their loyalty to your brand. Brand loyalty is very strong within the younger generations, more so than it is in these older generations. And so they really want you to personalize things for them. Another technique that I always do here is birthdays. So if I can capture a birthday, whether it's a month and a day, I just send a happy birthday email. Or if there's a client that sells a product or service, I'm going to discount or give something for free on someone's birthday. People love that. So having personalization, keeping that data up to date with your customers, it's really just going to help you establish brand loyalty for current customers, but then also it's going to help capture other ones too once you get that information and you can tailor some of that messaging. The other one is measuring success. These are key metrics that you can start tracking. So open rates, this is going to be for your email. So if I send out an email to 50 people, how many people actually opened it? Another thing that you can actually do for emails outside of open rates, I know Progreda has this feature and I love it, is what's called like a trigger link. So essentially, if I'm really trying to understand, this is kind of more helpful on the cold lead gen, which I strongly advise against, but if you're going to do it, you can basically embed trackable links. So if I'm going to give a PDF or a video or some type of link embedded into my email that I want someone to click on, I can actually put a link in behind that. And then as soon as they click on it, it'll notify me, and maybe I'll immediately cold call them, or I'll send another type of message, whether it's email or text, knowing that they're more of a hot lead because they're actually clicking around, they're looking at a calendar, they're looking at my website. So having those type of features in an email marketing tool is going to be extremely beneficial to you because it's going to help with those conversions. Again, an efficient use of your budget and resources. Click-through rates, that's for digital advertising. So how many times is your ad being clicked on? Well, we talked about this on my last webinar, but it varies between the digital advertising space that you're using. But I would say a broad range is anywhere between 3 and 5%. Click-through rate is really good. Anything above 5% is absolutely excellent. That means your ad is doing really well. People are liking it. People are clicking on it. So I'd strongly advise to look at those click-through rates if you're doing digital advertising. If they don't meet those thresholds, edit your copy, edit your maybe content that you put on there, or edit your audience segmentation if you didn't do a good job of that. So that way you can get better click-through rates, which is going to help lead to better leads and better conversions. And then lastly, conversion rates. So look at how people are converting. So if you're doing digital advertising, this could be whether you're tracking it through a website. So if you're pushing people to a website and they're either buying something or filling something out, do they actually convert on that? So how many people actually clicked to that website and then gave you that information? If you're doing form fills, how many people, I like to break this up into two different types of conversions when we're doing form fill ads. When we do a form fill ad on anything with digital advertising, we're capturing that as a lead. So you can think about that as like your first source of conversion rate. So I had 100 people click on this ad, and then 50% of them converted by giving us their information. But it goes a little bit further than that, because just because I gave you their information doesn't mean they're actually going to be a buyer of your product or service. So I always like to look at the conversion rate after we capture their information. So, okay, great. 50% of the people that our ad lands in front of are at least giving us their information, there's interest. But then looking at that percentage afterwards. So out of those 50, how many people actually bought or actually moved forward within that journey? So looking at both of those numbers is going to help you really understand your audience behavior and patterns. Because if you have an audience who loves to opt into things, but really not on that conversion side, you may need to think about how to nurture them a little bit more within that middle of that funnel or that journey. Or you may need to figure out what's causing them to not convert. So we're getting all these people, they're obviously interested, but why are they not converting? So always look at conversion rates when you're doing form fills or just lead capturing in general. It goes more than just capturing the lead for a conversion for me, and obviously for a lot of you. I always like to preface that because I know some people will be like, but I got 100 leads. I'm like, great. How many of those actually converted? And then for social media. So social media, it's a little bit more challenging to capture a conversion rate, but there are essentially two ways that you can do this. One, UTM tracking. So if you're going to be posting a link to social or you have your bio and link to social, you can add UTMs on the back of that. So that way, whatever tool that you're using is going to be able to tell you, okay, this individual came to your website from Instagram from this particular post. That's going to start to tell you what type of call to action your audience is if they are doing any type of call to action with UTM tracking. The second thing that you can do is a new, very popular thing people are doing on social media right now, and it's DM me the word or comment the word health, and I'll send you X, Y, and Z. What they're doing is they're then capturing their information through a series of, oh, here's my free download, and then they're capturing information. Or you can do more of like a reply back and forth of like, hey, thanks so much for your interest. I want to email you some things. Can you give me a good email to send out some of these guides to? And then they'll give you an email, go capture that, and automatically send them what you're trying to send them. So those are two effective ways to look at conversion rates from social in a trackable way where you can measure ROI. And I know for those of you who are less on the solo entrepreneur, but more on that business where it's really important to be tracking every dollar, every cent, every single ROI that you're getting, social media tends to be a more challenging one for customers or just businesses in general. But if you can establish a good UTM parameter where you're tracking, or you start using those DM features or comment the word features, you can start to then say, okay, we're spending X amount of dollars on ads. This is the return on investment we're getting. We are allocating, whether it's a salary or an agency that's working on social media. So here's how much we're spending on social media efforts. Or if you're doing it yourself, break that out into hourly based on what you kind of bring in a month to kind of garnish like, okay, based on what I'm bringing home, more than 50% of my time is spent on social media, which could equate to X amount of dollars. And then this is how much we're getting back on social. That's going to help you go back to that very beginning where we talked about allocating budget and using efficient time and resources. And then it's going to also help you with that audience segmentation, because as you start to add these tracking and these metrics to all of your digital marketing efforts, you're going to have a really good understanding what's working, what's not working, who's converting, who's not converting. And it's going to help you in the long run create more business for yourself, higher ROI, and you're going to have a really great way of targeting your audience, new audiences, and creating that brand loyalty. So let's enter into Q&A. I know this was not a complete hour. Usually I go a little bit over than an hour, but I would love to answer any questions that anyone has about audience segmentation. Curious if people are doing this today, what you're doing, if you are doing it, if you feel like it's successful. So yeah, throw all your questions in the chat. While you're doing that, if y'all are typing, I do want to give two things away. One is I do have a buyer persona template that my team uses, and I'm giving it to you for free today. You can have it, you can use it. It's a really great template of how to map out a journey. And so, we'll throw that into the chat. And then lastly, if you're not on Progreda and you're just not using a CRM marketing tool, you can have a free trial of Progreda. It's 30 days, free to use. Figure out if it's going to be beneficial to you, but you do need a marketing tool to help automate some of that customer's journey, collect that data, understand where those conversions are happening. Social media and advertising does connect into Progreda. So I highly recommend if people are not using that, go ahead and start using that today. But other than that, I would love to give the buyer persona away because that has been game changer for my clients as we really start to map out that customer journey and audience there. So take it away. And then I'll probably give like another 5 minutes for questions if anyone has any questions in the chat. Question. Could probably give y'all a sneak peek of the buyer guide if you're curious of what it looks like. You just open it. All right, let's take a look at it so that y'all can get a sneak peek. So this is a framework that my team uses pretty much all the time. So basic profile, goals and values, challenges and frustrations, what's a typical day in their life, what makes them happy, why are your services a good fit for their needs. Essentially, this entire template is going to be incredibly helpful to individuals who are really just trying to map out how do I talk to my customers? How do I talk to future customers? How do I get people interested in what I'm offering? This is going to be incredibly, especially the challenges and frustrations, because if you put yourself in your own buyer's shoes and your buyer journey, most of the time you're going to buy or get into an ad because you're experiencing some challenge or frustration in your life that is making you feel that you need X, Y, and Z. So when I was a postpartum mom, I gave that example. It was a real example, actually. I had pelvic floor issues. I had that diastasis recti thing. I had a lot going on there. And I started looking at things on social. I got all these ads. It took me forever to get into one. But I was frustrated. I was having challenges. I'm like, how do I lose weight again? Have an open abdomen? How do I do it in a way that's not going to hinder me? How do I eat while breastfeeding? Like I had so many questions and challenges and frustrations that I would search on Google, and I found the right people who were having the right conversations that I ended up trusting to give money to. But it's a perfect example of every single thing that we buy is bought with an emotion. So if you can really tailor your copy, your ads, anything you're doing digitally to that challenge and frustration, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get a conversion. So definitely download that buyer guide, start mapping out those things for your audience, come up with a buyer persona, look at your audience segmentation, and start implementing those into your digital marketing strategies. Okay. I don't think anyone has questions. No more questions, no questions. Feel free to come off mute. Does the platform offer lead scoring? Eric, that's a great question. No, that's no. And I will caution you against lead scoring because I've seen it a lot and I know a lot of businesses love lead scoring. But it is challenging to rely on a software to say, hey, this person is most likely going to buy because they liked a post or they commented on a post or they opted into an ad because it doesn't mean that they're actually a hot lead. If I comment on something, one, it doesn't mean that I want. Well, let me take a step back. If you're doing lead scoring off of social media, don't do that. There's a lot of risk in that just from marketing policies in general. But just because I like or comment on something does not mean I want to be marketed to just yet. And it holds no weight, in my opinion. When you're looking at leads, comment saves, or shares, those are good things to look at and to figure out, okay, who's doing those things and are they a current customer? Are they not a current customer? And another thing to think about with lead scoring there, or at least understanding how they're interacting and engaging, is that they're just a follower, or they may just like your product, but they may not be a good person to buy from your product. So social media with lead scoring, I'd caution against for advertising or marketing purposes. but it can be helpful as far as looking at data and saying, okay, I'm going to attribute a comment or a share or a save much higher than just a like. So I want to focus on the types of posts people are commenting on or sharing or saving to help me with my content strategy, for example. When it comes to digital advertising, lead scoring, I would not focus on lead scoring more so than I would focus on just like a pipeline and messaging. So if I opt into an ad, I'm interested. I'm a hot lead essentially. And then you can start to have the right conversation based on the information that you're gathering from me. But that's my opinion. I don't know of one off the top of my head that does like really good lead scoring that I'd say you can try. But if there's free trials out there, wouldn't hurt. But just be cautious of lead scoring. What about amount of engagement in a given time period? So that's gonna, I would assume that you're talking in the context of like, hey, over the last 3 months, I've gotten a 20% increase in comments or a 30% increase in the saves on looking at all my Facebook posts within the last 3 months. If not, just say no in the chat and then you can come off mute. But if that's what you're talking about, um,
I can tell you what I'm thinking is can you hear me okay?
yep.
Is the So the amount of engagement can be anything across multiple channels. So if you're gathering that prospect X has gone over here, downloaded this, commented on that, attended my webinar just like I'm attending yours right now in say 30 days, and it's all around the same subject, and I've developed my content in such a way that it leads them further and further down the funnel to show, hey, they're trying to educate themselves to a point, they're making a decision. If I do the content alignment right to that buying cycle, then I would say, okay, that I should focus more on that person than I should on somebody who's came to one event in the last 30 days.
Yes.
So
Yes. So you can actually build pipelines off of that instead of lead scoring. So if you're like, okay, I want to know when someone, or even like a Zapier on a Google Sheet or something, you can kind of do your own scoring because a platform is going to do most of the time. There's so much technology out there now. Most of the time, platforms are going to have their own algorithm or functionality in the background that they deem necessary as far as a lead scoring. But for you and your service, you may equate a webinar, a comment, and maybe they opted into a newsletter stronger than another opt-in in your journey or the funnel that you've provided for customers,
right.
potential customers. So you could create like a pipeline or even Zapier through a Google Sheet and start putting into pivot charts or whatever, however you want to look at the data. But essentially you could say, hey, anytime once someone meets X, Y, and Z, I want to be notified because I would also, devil's advocate is great. They may be a great lead so far and they've done all of these things, but why haven't they converted yet with you? I would get them on the phone. I would get them on a call or, via Zoom or whatever the case may be, because obviously they're looking into buying something or again, like you said, educating themselves. So I would encourage a pipeline that basically is like what I would probably how I'd probably build it is like tagging. So if someone replies on any of my social media channels, I want to tag them social reply. If anyone opts into my webinar, I want to reply webinar. And then if anyone subscribes or whatever, I want to tag that contact. And then I would create an automation that says, once all these three contacts are added to a contact, I want to add them to a pipeline or I want to notify myself that this person is a hot lead and to reach out to them. I would just start cold calling and being like, hey, yeah, I know that you've been to my webinar. I know that you've opted into a few things. I want to talk to you about my service or a product or where you at in your buyer journey or whatever the case may be of how you want to cold call them. But I would encourage you to just notify yourself, establish the lead scoring yourself, and then just call them.
Right.
I think that'd be the best way. Then you're not relying on another tool to lead score for you and what they think is important for your business because every business is different. Every buyer journey is different. But that's something you could actually do in Progreda. So I would definitely, if you're not on there, test it out because you could build two automations and start segmenting out your audience. It's just segmenting with tags inside of Progreda. And then you would just create like an if else condition. So if they have this tag and this tag and this tag, as soon as all three are added, I want to be notified. I want to add them to a hot lead pipeline. I want to send, or maybe it's okay, they're so engaged. Now I got to shift up my messaging. Maybe you send them down a completely different funnel. So something like Progreda would be able to help you with that.
Okay.
Which leads me into audience segmentation inside of a CRM, really any CRM, if y'all are using any of them. Once you capture data from individuals, tag that data. So that way you can go back and say, oh, I have, a new product, or I have something that fits within this bucket inside of Progreda, but in most places you can filter out your contact list. So I want to filter to anyone who has these following tags, and then you can send funnels, send them down funnels, or marketing messaging based on that. So audience segmentation in your CRM or marketing tool is also really important for just future marketing in general. So, any other thoughts or questions? Oh, you're welcome, Jackie. I know there's 4 minutes left till the hour is up, but if any of you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I can give everyone my email in the chat. And then you can reach out if you want to grab that. If you ever have any questions, I do offer free strategy calls too. They're 30 minutes. So if you're at a point in your business where you're really trying to refine some of this, get better at lead capturing and just data in general, happy to have that conversation, see where you're at, where you can go. So if you're interested, you can email me. I do have a calendar if you'd prefer that, but awesome. Okay. Well, I'm going to give everyone 3 minutes back into their day. It was awesome getting to talk to everyone about audience segmentation. Really hoping that that's super helpful. If you're not doing that today, highly encourage you to do that. And then again, there's the strategy call if you want to get a strategy call. If not, you can do that free trial and that buyer template guide, because it's amazing. The template guide, telling you it's going to be a game changer. Okay. All right. Well, have a great Thursday and a great weekend. Bye.